Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
If insomnia burned calories, I'd be a runway model by now. Instead, I'm Colin Harrow, 42 years old, sitting in my kitchen at 2 in the morning, nursing lukewarm coffee, and wondering when my marriage became a mystery novel I never wanted to read. The house creaks around me like old bones settling. Dana's been working late again. Her fourth night this week at the insurance office. Emergency audits, she calls them. Funny how emergencies only happen after 5 p.m. and require her to guard her phone like state secrets. I hear her key in the lock, followed by the careful footsteps of someone trying not to wake a sleeping husband. Too bad I'm wide awake, sitting right here in the kitchen like a gargoyle with caffeine dependency. Colin? Her voice carries that startled note of someone caught off guard. What are you doing up? Couldn't sleep, I gestured to my coffee mug. Thought I'd keep the insomnia company. Dana sets her purse on the counter, a sleek black leather thing that costs more than my monthly beer budget. She's still in her work clothes, navy blazer, pencil skirt, the whole insurance supervisor ensemble. But there's something disheveled about her, like she's been running her hands through her hair. You should try melatonin, she says, opening the refrigerator and staring into it without taking anything out. Classic Dana deflection. Offer a solution to avoid the real conversation. Maybe I should try having a wife who comes home before midnight. She closes the fridge door harder than necessary. We've been through this, Colin. The Morrison case is huge. If I don't stay on top of these audits... Her phone buzzes on the counter. The screen lights up with a text notification, and I catch a glimpse of the sender. T. Just the letter T, but Dana lunges for the phone like it's about to explode. Who's T? I ask. What? She's already reading the message, thumbs flying over the screen. The text! From T. Oh, that's Tina, from accounting. She doesn't look up from the phone. She's helping with the Morrison audits. Tina from accounting. Right. Because all urgent accounting questions happen at 2 a.m. and require immediate responses. I'm going to bed, Dana announces, slipping the phone into her purse. You should too. She kisses my forehead, a perfunctory peck that feels more like a stamp on a package, and heads upstairs. I sit there for another 20 minutes, staring at her purse and thinking about lies. Small ones, big ones, and the kind that grow in the dark like mushrooms. The next morning, Dana's in the shower when opportunity knocks. Her purse sits on the dresser, unguarded. I've been a building inspector for 15 years. I know how to document things, how to gather evidence when something doesn't pass the smell test. And my marriage is failing inspection in a big way. The audio recorder is small, about the size of a thumb drive. I've used it for years to document code violations and safety hazards. Its voice-activated battery lasts 48 hours, and it's completely legal for me to put it in my wife's purse. Technically, I slip it into the small interior pocket, the one she uses for receipts and lip balm. My hands are steady, but my heart's hammering like I'm defusing a bomb, instead of trying to save my marriage. What are you doing? Dana's voice makes me jump. She's standing in the bathroom doorway, towel wrapped around her, hair dripping. Looking for aspirin, I say, closing her purse. Headache. Medicine cabinet, she says, but her eyes narrow slightly. In the bathroom, where it's always been. Right, of course. That evening, Dana works late again. Emergency audit. I sit in my basement workshop, surrounded by the tools of my trade, levels, measuring tapes, code books, and wait for her to come home. The recorder should have plenty of material by now. She returns at 11:30, kisses my forehead, and goes to bed. I wait until I hear her breathing even out, then retrieve the device from her purse. Back in the basement, I plug it into my laptop and put on headphones. I'm expecting to hear flirting, maybe some heavy breathing, the usual soundtrack of infidelity. Instead, I get something much worse. The Morrison claim should clear tomorrow, Dana's voice says through the headphones. That's another 50,000 we can move. A male voice responds. Definitely not Tina from accounting. Good. Once we get the Patterson and Williams claims processed, we'll have enough to make the final transfer. How much total? Dana asks. Close to 300,000. Maybe more if we can push through those backdated claims from last quarter. My blood turns to ice water. They're not having an affair. They're committing fraud. Insurance fraud, to be specific. The kind that carries federal charges and prison sentences. Trent, what if someone notices the pattern? Dana's voice again. So T isn't Tina. It's Trent. Who's going to notice? You're the supervisor. You approve the claims, I process them. Money goes where it's supposed to go. On paper, everything looks legitimate. But Colin's been asking questions about my hours. Colin's a building inspector, not a forensic accountant. Stop worrying. I pause the recording, pull off the headphones, and sit in the silence of my basement. 20 years of marriage, and I never saw this coming. I thought I was dealing with adultery, messy, painful, but survivable. Instead, I'm married to a criminal. The recording continues for another hour. They discuss falsified claims, backdated documents, and a private account in the Cayman Islands. They talk about their exit strategy, how they'll disappear once the final transfers go through. Dana mentions selling the house, liquidating assets, starting fresh somewhere warm, somewhere that doesn't include me. I copy the entire recording to 3 separate drives and upload it to a secure cloud account. Then I start gathering everything else. Dana's false overtime reports, her email passwords. She's used the same one for 8 years. Bank statements, credit card records. By dawn, I have a file that would make a federal prosecutor weep with joy. Dana finds me in the kitchen again, same spot as the night before. This time, I'm not drinking coffee. I'm surrounded by printouts, documents, and my laptop. What's all this? She asks, but her voice has changed. There's a tremor in it, like she already knows. Insurance fraud, I say calmly. Falsified claims, embezzlement. Should I go on? The color drains from her face. She reaches for the back of a chair to steady herself. Colin, I can explain. Can you? I hit play on my laptop. Her voice fills the kitchen, discussing claim numbers and transfer amounts with crystal clarity. You misunderstood. The words come out in a rush, desperate and panicked. Please stop. It's not what you think. But I'm already standing, already reaching for my keys. The police station opens at 8 a.m., and I want to be first in line. Where are you going? Dana's voice cracks. To turn in evidence of multiple felonies, I say. You might want to call a lawyer. You're going to need one. The police station smells like disinfectant and bad coffee. I sit across from Detective Gloria Vick, a sharp-eyed woman in her late 30s who listens to my story without interruption. I've known Gloria for years. She used to date my buddy Rick back in high school, and our paths crossed occasionally during building inspections at crime scenes. This is quite a collection, she says, flipping through my documentation. Audio recording, financial records, email printouts. You've been busy. I'm thorough. Comes with a job. She plugs in the audio recorder and listens to key excerpts, making notes in a spiral notebook. Her expression remains neutral, but I catch her eyebrows rise when Dana and Trent discuss the Cayman Islands account. The recording device, you placed it in your wife's purse without her knowledge? Yes. That's legal since you're married and it was in your shared residence. But it won't be admissible in criminal court. My heart sinks. So this is useless? Not useless. It gives us probable cause to investigate. We can subpoena bank records, examine the insurance claims, interview witnesses. The recording points us in the right direction, even if we can't use it directly. She closes the notebook and looks at me with something that might be sympathy. Mr. Harrow, I have to ask, are you prepared for what comes next? If we find evidence of fraud, your wife will be arrested. This won't be a quiet divorce. She made that choice when she decided to steal $300,000. Fair enough. We'll start with the insurance company. I'll need you to sign a formal statement, and we'll want to interview you again once we've reviewed the financial records. I sign the papers and drive home to find Dana pacing the living room like a caged animal. She's still in her pajamas, hair unwashed, eyes red from crying. The police called my office, she says without preamble. They're sending investigators this morning. Good. Good? Her voice rises to a shriek. Colin, they're going to arrest me. Probably. She stares at me like I've grown a second head. How can you be so calm about this? Because I didn't steal $300,000 from my employer. It wasn't stealing. We were going to pay it back. With what money? The house you were planning to sell without telling me? She deflates like a punctured balloon, sinking onto the couch. How did you find out about the house? Your emails. You've been corresponding with real estate agents for 2 months. Dana buries her face in her hands. I never meant for it to go this far. It started small, just a few claims here and there. But then Trent said we could make real money, enough to start over somewhere new. Start over without me, you mean? I was going to tell you eventually. When? After you'd emptied our bank accounts and disappeared? She doesn't answer, which is answer enough. The investigators arrive at 10 a.m., 2 serious-looking agents from the State Insurance Fraud Division and Detective Vic. They spend 3 hours in Dana's home office, boxing up files and computer equipment. Dana sits in the living room, clutching a cup of tea and staring at nothing. Mrs. Harrow, one of the agents says, approaching with a folder, we need to ask you some questions. I want a lawyer. That's your right. But you should know. We've already identified significant irregularities in your department's claim processing. Cooperating now might work in your favor. Dana looks at me with desperate eyes, like I might somehow save her. But I'm done being her safety net. Call your lawyer, I say. I'll be at Rick's bar. The Blue Ox hasn't changed in 20 years. Dark wood, neon beer signs, and the kind of atmosphere that encourages honest conversation and bad decisions. Rick McCaffrey owns the place now. A stocky ex-cop with a gray beard and an encyclopedic knowledge of local gossip. Jesus, Colin, he says, sliding a beer across the bar. Dana Harrow, insurance fraudster. Never saw that coming. Makes 2 of us. How much did she steal? Close to $300,000, according to the recording. Rick whistles low. That's federal prison territory. She's looking at 5 to 10 years minimum. The beer tastes like sawdust, but I drink it anyway. I filed for divorce this morning. Smart move. You don't want to be married to her when the indictments come down. The bar's afternoon crowd consists of city workers and retirees, the kind of people who know everyone's business and aren't shy about sharing opinions. Word spreads fast in a town this size. Heard Dana got raided by the feds, says Tommy Brennan, sliding onto the adjacent stool. Tommy works for the water department and has the social discretion of a town crier. State investigators, I correct. Not feds. Yet. Same difference. My cousin works at the insurance office. Says they're going through everything with a fine-tooth comb. By evening, my phone starts buzzing with texts and calls. Friends, neighbors, coworkers. Everyone wants to know if the rumors are true. I let most calls go to voicemail, but answer when I see Lyle Patterson's name. Lyle's 26, works for the city engineering department, and helps me with technology issues when I'm in over my head. Dude, is it true about Dana? His voice crackles through the phone. Depends what you heard. Insurance fraud, embezzlement, federal investigation. State investigation, but yeah, the rest is true. Holy shit, Colin. I'm sorry, man. Don't be. I'm not. There's a pause. You need anything? Help with lawyers or... Actually, yeah. Can you help me change all my passwords? Dana had access to most of my accounts. Absolutely. I'll come over tomorrow. That night, I sleep better than I have in months. Dana's upstairs, probably crying into her pillow, but I feel like a weight has been lifted from my chest. The truth has a way of doing that, even when the truth is ugly. Dana's arrest happens on a Tuesday morning. I'm in my city truck, inspecting a commercial renovation on Maple Street when Detective Vic calls. We're picking her up at her office in 20 minutes, she says. Thought you should know. Charges? Insurance fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Trent Foster's already in custody. We got him at his apartment an hour ago. I sit in my truck for a long moment, watching construction workers frame out a new storefront. Normal people doing normal work, Their biggest worry probably whether it'll rain before they get the roof on. Colin, you still there? Yeah, thanks for the heads up. The media might call you, just so you're prepared. She's right. By noon, my phone's ringing constantly. Local news, regional papers, even a blogger who covers white-collar crime in upstate New York. I don't answer any of them. Instead, I drive to the Blue Ox, where Rick's got the local news playing on the bar TV. Dana's perp walk is the lead story. A 30-second clip of her being escorted from her office building, in handcuffs, head down, trying to avoid the cameras. Damn, Rick says, shaking his head. She looks rough. She does. The polished insurance supervisor is gone, replaced by a woman in wrinkled clothes with hollow eyes and tangled hair. Dana Harrow.
A couple spa. You took her to the place we go. It was a birthday gift. She's a friend. Friends don't get $500 couples massage.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
37 was arrested this morning on charges related to an alleged insurance fraud scheme, the reporter says. Harrow, a claims supervisor at Consolidated Insurance, is accused of falsifying claims and embezzling nearly $300,000 over an 18-month period. The story continues with background on insurance fraud, quotes from law enforcement, and a brief statement from Dana's hastily hired attorney claiming his client's innocence. No mention of you, Rick observes. Good. I want to stay out of this circus. But staying out proves impossible. By evening, reporters are camped outside my house. I park in the garage and enter through the basement, but they still manage to shout questions through the windows. Mr. Harrow, did you know about your wife's alleged crimes? How long has this been going on? Are you planning to divorce? I close the blinds and turn up the TV volume. Let them freeze their asses off on my lawn. I'm not giving them anything. My lawyer, Patricia Webb, calls at 8 p.m. She's handled my real estate closings for years, but divorce law isn't her specialty. Colin, you need a criminal attorney. I didn't commit any crimes. You're married to someone who did. The prosecutor might try to claim you knew about the fraud, that you benefited from it. You need protection. Can you recommend someone? David Chen. He's expensive, but he's the best criminal defense attorney in the state. I'll call him tonight. After she hangs up, I pour myself a scotch and sit in my living room, listening to reporters murmur outside. The house feels different without Dana. Bigger, but also more mine. Her decorating touches suddenly look foreign. The throw pillows, the scented candles, the framed photos of us from happier times. I take down the photos and stack them in a box. No point living in the past. The next morning, I meet David Chen at his downtown office. He's younger than I expected, maybe 40, with an expensive suit and the kind of confidence that comes from winning cases other lawyers won't touch. The good news, he says after reviewing my file, is that you reported the crime yourself. That makes it very difficult for prosecutors to claim you were complicit. And the bad news? Your wife's attorney is going to argue that she was coerced or manipulated by her co-conspirator. She might try to claim you knew about the fraud and encouraged it. That's bullshit. Of course it is. But we need to be prepared for anything. Chen explains the legal process. Grand jury indictments, plea negotiations, the possibility of a trial. Dana's facing serious federal charges now. The FBI got involved once they discovered the interstate banking transactions. How long before this is resolved? Could be months, could be years. White-collar cases move slowly. I leave Chen's office feeling like I've been dropped into someone else's life. 6 months ago, my biggest worry was whether the city council would approve my budget request. Now I'm hiring criminal attorneys and dodging reporters. The media attention dies down after a few days, but the social fallout is just beginning. I discover this at the grocery store, where conversations stop when I enter aisles, and people suddenly find their shopping lists fascinating. At the Blue Ox, the reaction is different. Rick's regulars treat me like a hero, the guy who caught the crooks and did the right thing. You got balls, Colin, says Mike Torres, a plumber who's been drinking at Rick's for 15 years. Most guys would have just filed for divorce and kept quiet. Most guys aren't married to felons, I reply, but the hero treatment doesn't extend everywhere. Some of Dana's friends, people I thought were my friends too, see things differently. I learned this when I run into Jennifer Walsh at the hardware store. Jennifer and her husband Mark used to have us over for barbecues. Our kids went to the same schools, played on the same teams. Colin, she says, her voice chilly, I heard about Dana. Yeah, it's been a difficult time. I can imagine for both of you. There's something in her tone that puts me on edge. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, it's just, did you have to go to the police? Couldn't you have handled this privately? I stare at her. She stole $300,000, Jennifer. This isn't a marriage counseling issue. I know, but she's facing prison. Her life is ruined. She ruined it herself. Jennifer shakes her head. I don't know, Colin. It seems harsh. She made a mistake. A mistake? She planned to steal money and disappear. That's not a mistake. It's a crime. You don't have to be so cold about it. Cold. The word follows me home and rattles around in my head. Am I being cold? Or am I just refusing to be a victim? That evening, Mark Walsh calls. Colin, we need to talk. About what? About Dana. About what you're doing to her. What I'm doing. I reported a crime. That's what citizens are supposed to do. Come on, man. You could have given her a chance to pay the money back, to make things right. Instead, you destroyed her life. She destroyed her own life, and she was planning to destroy mine too. That's not how Jennifer and I see it. Then maybe you and Jennifer need glasses. The conversation goes downhill from there. By the time Mark hangs up, it's clear that our friendship is over. Dana's crimes have somehow become my fault, and my refusal to play the role of supportive, suffering husband makes me the villain. Over the next week, I get similar reactions from other couples in our social circle. People who should be outraged by Dana's crimes instead focus on my betrayal of my marriage vows. As if, for better or worse, includes for felony fraud. The isolation stings more than I expected. These aren't just acquaintances. They're people I've known for years, people whose homes I've helped inspect, whose kids played with mine when I was married before. But, apparently, loyalty to a criminal trumps friendship with the person who exposed her crimes. Fine. I never liked their barbecues anyway. 3 weeks after Dana's arrest, I'm having lunch at Murphy's Diner when I spot them. Mark and Jennifer Walsh sitting in a corner booth with Tom Bradley and his wife, Susan. The four of them are deep in conversation, heads bent together like conspirators. They see me at the same time I see them. The conversation stops. Mark says something to the others, then stands and walks over to my table. Colin, his voice is neutral, but his jaw is tight. Mark, mind if I sit? Free country. He slides into the opposite seat. We need to clear the air. I didn't know the air was dirty. Cut the sarcasm. You know what I'm talking about. I set down my sandwich. Actually, I don't. Why don't you enlighten me? Mark glances back at his table, where Jennifer, Tom, and Susan are watching like this is dinner theater. What you did to Dana. It's not right, Colin. What I did was report a crime. You destroyed your own wife. My wife destroyed herself. I just documented it. She made a mistake. Stop calling it a mistake. My voice rises enough to turn heads at nearby tables. She didn't accidentally steal $300,000. She planned it. She recruited an accomplice. She was going to sell our house and disappear without telling me. That's not a mistake, Mark. That's a calculated betrayal. Mark's face reddens. Marriage is supposed to mean something. You're supposed to stand by each other. Stand by each other, yes. Enable criminal behavior? No. You could have handled this privately, worked something out. Instead, you went straight to the cops, like she was some stranger. She might as well have been. The woman I married wouldn't have stolen money from her employer. People change, Colin. People make bad choices when they're under pressure. What pressure? We had a good life. Nice house, steady jobs, no debt. What pressure was she under that justified stealing $300,000? Mark doesn't have an answer for that. He shifts in his seat, glances back at his table again. Look, he says, lowering his voice. Jennifer thinks you're being vindictive. Like, you wanted to hurt Dana as much as possible. Jennifer's wrong. Are you sure? Because from where we're sitting, it looks like you're enjoying this. Dana's facing prison, her career's over, her reputation is destroyed, and you're acting like it's justice. It is justice. Is it, or is it revenge? The question hangs between us like smoke. I study Mark's face, seeing something I've never noticed before. The self-righteous certainty of someone who's never been truly betrayed. You want to know the difference between justice and revenge, Mark? Justice is what happens when someone faces consequences for their actions. Revenge is what I could have done but didn't. What's that supposed to mean? I could have cleaned out our bank accounts before reporting her. I could have sold her car, canceled her credit cards, changed the locks. I could have posted her mugshot on social media with a detailed explanation of her crimes. I could have called her parents, her sister, her college friends, and told them exactly what kind of person their precious Dana really is. Mark's eyes widen slightly. But I didn't do any of that, I continue. I reported her crimes to the appropriate authorities and let the legal system handle it. That's justice, Mark. Revenge would have been much more creative. Jesus, Colin, listen to yourself. I am listening, and I like what I hear. Mark stands abruptly. You've changed, man. This whole thing has made you cold. No, Mark. This whole thing has made me honest. He walks back to his table without another word. I watch him huddle with the others, no doubt reporting on our conversation. Jennifer shoots me a look of pure disgust. Tom shakes his head like I'm a lost cause. I finish my sandwich and leave a generous tip. Let them think what they want. I know the truth, and the truth is that I'm the only one in this whole mess who acted with integrity. But the encounter bothers me more than I want to admit. That evening, I'm nursing a beer at the Blue Ox when Rick brings up the subject. Heard you had words with Mark Walsh at Murphy's. News travels fast. Small town, you know how it is. Rick polishes a glass with practiced efficiency. What did he want? To lecture me about marriage vows and standing by your spouse? Even when your spouse is a felon? Apparently, Rick snorts. Mark Walsh is an idiot, always has been. Remember when he tried to build that deck without permits? You could have fined him, but you helped him get the paperwork sorted out instead. Different situation. Is it? You helped him when he made an honest mistake. Dana didn't make an honest mistake. She committed crimes. Big difference. I appreciate Rick's support, but it doesn't ease the growing isolation. Over the next few days, the social temperature continues to drop. At the grocery store, people I've known for years suddenly develop tunnel vision when they see me coming. At City Hall, conversations pause when I enter rooms. The breaking point comes at Tom Bradley's birthday party. I wasn't officially invited, but these things are usually open to the whole crowd. I show up with a bottle of wine and walk into a wall of silence. The party's in full swing, 20 or so people scattered around Tom's backyard, drinks flowing, music playing. But when I appear, conversations stutter to a halt. Colin, Tom says, his voice carefully neutral. Didn't expect to see you. Brought wine, I say, holding up the bottle. Happy birthday. Thanks. He takes the bottle but doesn't invite me to stay. I scan the crowd, looking for friendly faces. Instead, I see Mark and Jennifer Walsh, who immediately turn their backs. Susan Bradley pretends to be fascinated by the appetizer table. Other people I've known for years suddenly find their drinks incredibly interesting. The message is clear. I'm not welcome here. You know what? I say to Tom, loud enough for everyone to hear. Keep the wine. Looks like you need it more than I do. I'm halfway to my truck when Jennifer Walsh calls out. Colin, wait. I turn. She's hurrying across the lawn, drink in hand, face flushed with alcohol and indignation. We need to talk, she says. Do we? Yes. About what you're doing to Dana. I'm not doing anything to Dana. The criminal justice system is doing something to Dana. Don't be cute. You know what I mean. Jennifer's had enough wine to make her brave and stupid. She steps closer, invading my personal space. That woman loved you, she says. She made a mistake. A big one, I'll grant you. But she loved you, and you threw her away like garbage. She was planning to leave me, Jennifer. She was going to steal our money and disappear. How is that love? People do stupid things when they're scared. Scared of what? Me? Our marriage? What was she so afraid of that she had to commit federal crimes? Jennifer doesn't have an answer, so she tries a different approach. You could have helped her. You could have stood by her, supported her through this. Supported her through what? Her trial? Her prison sentence? Should I visit her every weekend and pretend this is all just a misunderstanding? If you loved her, yes. The words hang in the air between us. Around the yard, conversations have stopped entirely. Everyone's watching now, waiting to see how this plays out. Let me ask you something, Jennifer, I say. If Mark stole $300,000 from his employer and planned to disappear without telling you, would you stand by him? That's different. How? How is it different? Mark would never do that. Neither would the woman I married. But the woman I married doesn't exist anymore, does she? She's been replaced by someone who lies, steals, and betrays the people who trust her. Jennifer's face crumples. You're so cold, Colin. So heartless. No, Jennifer. I'm just not stupid. I get in my truck and drive away, leaving behind 20 years of friendships and social connections. The isolation is complete now. Dana's crimes have somehow become my fault, and my refusal to play the victim makes me the villain in everyone else's story. Fine. I never liked their parties anyway.